In this segment, we're going to build a song using only the virtual instruments built into MIXC4. Let's start with a new project, and from the new project window, we're going to choose Build Virtual Instrument Tracks, option 3. Once we do that, we get the usual MIXC4 window, except at the top now we have 2 new tracks. We have 2 tracks with little gray notes, and they're labeled Virtual Instrument Track. What is a virtual instrument? Well, that's a software module that accepts notes from something, like a MIDI keyboard or a USB keyboard controller, and turns those notes into sound. The sounds can be pre-recorded sounds, like the notes of a piano or guitar, or they can be synthesizer sounds never before heard. You're making them live. In this case, I've picked up an M Audio Axiom keyboard, and I've got that plugged into the USB port on the side of my laptop. No drivers needed. Windows XP knew what it was right off, and I'm ready to hit some notes. I'll just play some notes on my keyboard, and there we go. I can hear a piano sound. So the default virtual instrument on track 1 here is a piano sound. Let's go ahead and make a recording with that. I'm going to arm that track, and let's slow our tempo down to something like 100. I'll turn up the volume a little bit to get that piano up over the pretty loud metronome. Turn on the metronome, rewind to the beginning, and I'm going to click the record button. Here we go. Alright, that was okay. There's definitely some timing glitches there at the beginning of the song. Let's listen back and hear what those are. You know, that very first long note, middle note there in this grouping, you can see the actual notes you play, by the way, if you're not familiar with what MIDI looks like on the screen. And we can edit those. Let's double click on that track, and it will pop up in the MIDI editor. I'm going to drag this gray bar out of the way. I can use my scroll wheel on my mouse to zoom in and out. I'm going to zoom out a bit, and let's take a look at that little track in more detail. So this note is just way early. You can hear this guy right here. Oops. As I click on them, he'll play. You can hear the different notes. And that sound right there, you can see a grid of the correct beat where he should have been, and he's not. So I'm going to drag him back to the correct beat. The next bar, same note, has a similar problem. Now let's listen in. Oops. Now let's listen and see if what we're doing makes sense. Yeah, that kind of works. That's kind of fixing it. Now he's all over the place again. Let's see if we can fix that. Oh, that should have been major. I can just drag that note to major. Let's hear it from bar 6. Pretty cool. That's how you edit MIDI. Alright, I can go back to my project window here, turn the metronome off, and we don't need to listen to it again. Let's add another instrument. Let's go to our next track. I'm going to disarm the first track and arm the next track, and click on the little piano keyboard icon to bring up our virtual instrument selector. In addition to the piano, there are a bunch of other instruments, several different categories. We've got categories, you know, strings, whatever. Let's see what we've got in the way of strings I could add to this thing. Here's the strings category, 70s string synth, cello, that's pretty cool. Dark Selena Ensemble, ARP Selena was an old string synth. That sounds better than a real one. Let's see. Gary Newman Polymoog strings. Yeah, that might work. Let's use those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewind to the beginning, turn the metronome on, might turn the volume overall down a little bit here, and I'm going to add my string track by playing along. Rewind, record. Well, that was sad. When you record a sad track, you just click on it to turn it darkest blue. You can see that track's a little darker blue than the others, and hit the delete key. Also, I'm going to use a few keyboard shortcuts here. No need to keep going back to the mouse every time, especially when you're re-recording this stuff. I'm going to hit the home key, which will take us back to the beginning of the song. So the home key on your keyboard, your QWERTY keyboard, not your MIDI keyboard, takes you back to the beginning, and then Control Z would be undo. See if I can do some better strings this time. Alright, I think that was the way to go. That was kind of cool. Let's turn the volume of those down. We certainly don't need a lot of that. It's just adding a little bit. And let's add another one. I'm going to click on the next track down, which is an audio track, not a virtual instrument track. So we need to add another virtual instrument track, and I'm going to do that by hitting the plus track button here on the left and choose Insert Virtual Instrument Track. There we go. Got a new instrument. Double click on that. Let's play with another one here. All these instrument presets that we were playing with to find the string sound are just one type of generator, sound generator or virtual instrument. The others are found in this instruments category here. The acoustic instruments are ones we were just listening to, and then we also have another one called Impulse. When you click on Impulse, you get a typical Windowsy looking screen, but if you click on the Edit button, you get to see the front panel of the Impulse synthesizer. So it's kind of a cool virtual analog type of synth. And you can play with the controls in real time. It's pretty cool. There's a bunch of presets. If you go up to the top of this instrument, you can choose different presets. Flute synth. I don't know about that one. Pulsator. Yeah, we won't be able to use that in our song. Let's see if we can. Rewind it to the beginning and record. I don't know about that sound, not wild about it. But one of the cool things about MIDI, when you record these notes, these little pictures, and when we double clicked we saw the actual notes there, are really just the notes played on the keyboard. They're not the sound. The sound is being generated in real time by our virtual instrument, so we can change the sound after the fact. We can go back into that thing and edit that virtual instrument and say, I don't know about that sound. Let's pick a different one. That might be better. Yeah, let's try it. Let's put that guy down there. Go ahead and hit play, and hear if it works. That's much better. Definitely a weird sound, but just for now, humor me. However, you notice that he's ahead of the beat. You see that? If I double click on that and do a little zooming in, the little fella is ahead of the beat every time. He's ahead of the downbeat, and it's really noticeable on that kind of sound. So I could go in and manually move each of those notes till they're on the beat, or I could use a feature called quantize. So I'm going to go here to the quantize button, and quantize notes starts to 8th notes. Here we go. Oops. You have to select them or select the all button. I'm going to do all to 8th notes. You can see just, I don't know if you saw that, but instantly all of the notes jumped right to the correct 8th note. They are no longer off the beat. If I hit play now, they're right on the beat. Pretty cool. A little bit of weird harmonic action going on there, but hey. Alright, let's add another track. Click here, virtual instrument. Make another virtual instrument track, and try out one of our other virtual instruments. One of the ones I really like here is the VB3 organ. Bring that guy up, and it's a virtual B3 Hammond organ. Drawbars, Leslie. It's really cool. If we go through the presets on that thing, lots of cool sounds. Another interesting tidbit here is if your controller keyboard is more than just a keyboard, like it has a pitch mod wheel on it and maybe some buttons, this sound responds to the mod wheel. So if I hold down some notes and then move the mod wheel up, that switches the Leslie from fast to slow. Also, my Axiom keyboard has a bunch of sliders on it, and the furthest right slider is assigned to MIDI volume. If you look on the screen, you can see the volume knob is changing on my virtual instrument here. So I can turn those things up and down. I'm going to control a few other things as well, mapped from the Axiom keyboard. Pretty cool. I can also change the programs if my keyboard controller has a program change button, which this one does. I'm going to select the program button and then hit the plus key and audition some presets. That's pretty cool. I don't have to sit here with my mouse and pull down new things from the menu. I can just hit the next button or the plus or minus buttons on my USB keyboard controller to go to the next preset. Pretty cool. I like this one. Play with that mic distance there. I really like that sound right there. Let's add a track of that. I'm going to play with the volume slider and the mod wheel Leslie while playing it. Let's hear what it sounds like. Alright, well, I'm not sure that was, fine art again, but hey, you can do much better. Alright, one more instrument we can add, and let's turn down the volume a little bit more. And that instrument will be the final one in the set here. So I'm going to add a virtual instrument track. Click on the little instrument icon, go to Instruments, and add the MIXC4 VA, or MIXC4 Virtual Analog Synth. Before I do that though, take a look at what the next option is here. It says External Devices. For those of you that have hardware MIDI synths around, your Korg, Triton, Yamaha, Motif, whatever, or cool old stuff that has a MIDI jack on it, you can use those in your compositions by sending the MIDI you record in these tracks out some MIDI out jack connected to your computer. So you can see I've got a couple of them here. I've got the PreSonus Firebox has a MIDI out, and my Axiom keyboard has a MIDI out. So I could plug a cable from those to the MIDI in on my hardware synth and then get the audio into an audio track here and record that. Could be fun to play with. If you have one of those, you probably know what I just said. The rest of you can ignore that. Back to our MIXC4 Virtual Analog. Going to do the same deal. And look at this. A really cool looking emulation of the original MIXC4 synth. So this one has effects and a bunch of other things that are fun, arpeggiator. But that's the sound I'm looking for right there already. So we'll go ahead and close that window. Go back to the beginning and make some noise with this thing. Here we go. Whoops, accidentally recorded on top of my organ track. Ah, what do I do? Well, I'm going to hit the undo key. So I can either go up to Mix, Undo, or hit Control Z on my keyboard. I'm going to hit Undo, disarm that track, arm our mini Moog. There he is. And back to the beginning and hit record. Alright, that's silliness, but you get the idea. Sounds really cool. Now that we've made a composition using virtual instruments, we're not limited to those. We could also scroll down here to our real instrument tracks and head to the library and add drums and percussion and all sorts of things to that, or even record live instruments. But I wanted to show you how to use virtual instruments. There it is.